Legendary stuff here. Yep, they're starting now. Well, the walkouts, well, not the walkouts, but the celebration starting now. The fights probably won't start till like 8:40 or 8:50. Trump walking to the cage now with Dana White. What you booing about? I mean, Alex is used to fighting guys that's 185 pounds, so a 265 guy should, or a 250 guy, 248 guy shouldn't be nothing crazy. Oh, Trump, I feel you. The funny thing, I'm only like 10 minutes from the White House, but I'm at home. I live only 10 minutes from the White House. I appreciate that, Jennifer. God loves you too. Jesus loves you too. I mean, the UFC is an American corporation, so why not? I don't see nothing wrong with being having pride in your own country, or at least representing your own country. I can see you going too deep, but I don't feel like it's too deep. It's American corporation. They getting a historic to fight at the White House. I don't see no issue with that. But I can see somebody was like in the UFC, like publicly going crazy, always like publicly promoting Israel, publicly promoting like, oh, the war here, the war there, like talking about wars, talking about this, talking about that, but just having patriotism like on a slight level, I think it's decent. Moderate level is decent. It's a celebration of Trump. Yeah, you can see this that way. It wouldn't be there if Trump wasn't celebrating himself, but for American citizens or Americans, you can look at the White House was here before Trump. White House will be here after Trump. So this is historic for the UFC. Like if you like MMA, you should like UFC to be honest, or at least MMA fight at the highest level. And for the highest level MMA to be at the White House, like you can't hate on that too much, in my opinion. Again, you could try to look at it some way if you want to, but that's you trying too hard to look at it a certain way instead of just enjoying the fact that you like MMA, if that's your favorite sport, which is my favorite thing to watch, and it's at the White House. And I ain't looking at it deeper than that. I ain't looking at, oh, Trump is doing this. I'm like, nah, the UFC at the White House, dope. Favorite sport, the country I live in, country I was raised and born in. Same way with the Olympics. I don't feel like, oh, America's doing this, so I can't root for Olympian, like a U.S. Olympians. Now I'm gonna support U.S. Olympians. I'm gonna watch U.S. Olympians every single Olympics. Yeah, the whole Bilal not flying the Palestinian flag is dumb. I don't like that. I feel like you should be able to wear your flag at the very least. At the very least. At the bare minimum, you should be able to fly your flags. Yeah, I can care less about Trump. Again, for me, it's not about Trump. Like I say, you focus on Trump, I'm not. I can care less about Trump. The country been shit if you realize that. Well, in a sense, I'm not saying in a deeper sense, it's shit. But the whole world is shit right now and has been shit. But on a deeper level. But surface level, it is what it is. I said they should be allowed every single flag. I didn't disagree with that. So every flag should be able to be flown. Look at Dana White. He happy as a mug. He like a little kid. in his fucking head. Who's this singing? Maybe, but yes, it's outside right now. They say if it start raining, they're gonna move it to a different location. They have backup locations. Hey, Flo, what's up, Flo? Hello, hello, hello. All right. Hello, hello. All right. They're gonna do this. Do this. All right, we're doing that. What's up, Ink Red? Y'all be complaining about everything. This is not the sport I grew up watching. Which has changed? Y'all complaining about fights being you get access to all the fights the whole year for UFC for $10 a month. It has never been this good to watch UFC fights, or it has never been this easy to watch UFC fights. Y'all talking about it's changed. What has changed? Nothing has changed for the worse. y'all just like to complain. But then again, people been complaining. I've been watching MMA for a long time. People been complaining when Chuck Liddell retired, when Rich Franklin complained, "Oh, the UFC is not what it used to be. It's not as family oriented or whatever." People been complaining, and then McGregor come out. "Oh, the UFC is best." McGregor turned to a scrub. "Oh, UFC fell off. This guy get big. Somebody fall. Oh, it fell off." Y'all been complaining for decades. It has not got worse. As someone who has been watching sport for 30 plus years, it has not changed. Stop crying. I mean, go back and watch the other fights. Go back to like 2008. I assure you the skill level has gotten much better. Go back to 2008 and watch some fights. Watch some undercard fights in 2008. Go back and watch the Ultimate Fighter in 2008. Yeah, go back to 2008 and watch the Ultimate Fighter in 2008. And those same guys you call on low level, a lot of those guys you'll see right now fight on low levels, 2-3 years down the line will be fighting for belts a lot of times. People are like, "Oh, the Contender Series ain't this and ain't that." But like, there already been like 5 champions that came off the Contender Series. Jamal Hill, Sean O'Malley. Who else came off the Contender Series? It's been like several champions that have come off the Contender Series. Like, people always complaining, but the level keeps evolving. So what are you even saying? You can't compare skill. So you're agreeing with me that skill level has gotten better, but you're saying, "Oh, it's worse now, but skill level got better." So what are you saying? What are you saying, my guy? You're not saying anything. And I can feel you on that. Like, it's not about the skill level. I don't feel as invested in the fighters as I did years ago. Like, my favorite fighters retired years ago. I got some fighters I like. Well, John Jones still fighting, kind of, sort of. But outside of John Jones, Adesanya, who else I really like? Cub Swanson, but Cub Swanson retired. By the way, most of the guys I like Shogun, Machida, Wanderlei, Dan Henderson, like the fighters I was invested in, like they retired. Chuck Liddell a little bit. Hey, I appreciate the dono, Floyd. I'm glad I can help, Ink. But yeah, I'm not invested as I was years ago. But I can't say like the skill level got dropped or they're having unnecessary fights. Fighters got to develop, and at least they're not doing what PFL and Bellator are. They're not giving people complete cans all the time. They at least fighting guys that have records and ranks. Like in Bellator and PFL, Risen, you'll literally see guys fight guys that are 0-0, 4-14. You might get scrubs in the UFC that get walked over, but those scrubs will still be like 15-8. It might have one or two decent wins. Versus outside of UFC, it's a garbage fest. But same people that will hate on UFC will suck up Risen, will suck up PFL, will suck up Bellator, will suck up regional scenes with legit scrubs and those like legitimate scrubs. Legitimate cab drivers stacked through the whole card, not just the undercard, not just slightly below the main card, but like the whole card be scrubs. But y'all complain about the UFC. Again, the overall skill of the UFC has gotten better. He said no one can compete with a monopoly. I mean, technically they can. It's not a monopoly. If it was a monopoly, there would be no other MMA organization. It's not a monopoly. And other organizations definitely got talent. That's a disrespect to other organizations because other organizations definitely got talent. If UFC was a monopoly, PFL would not have been able to get Ngannou. And I've seen like WEC come over and do well in the UFC. I have seen Strikeforce come over to the UFC do well. So the UFC does not have all the talent. They have most of the talent, but they definitely don't have all of the talent. There's definitely a lot of talent that can be taken from the UFC if people are willing to pay. And the money's definitely out there. That's their fault. It's not PFL making dumb decisions paying all this money for Ngannou when they could pay to develop developing fighters or at least fighters that aren't already UFC champions. You don't have to buy UFC champions. You could buy a guy that, maybe a contender series guy that the UFC didn't pick up. You could buy a guy that's ranked but middling, or maybe a guy that's coming to the end of his contract. You don't have to buy a former champion or a current UFC champion. They just making bad business moves. That's not UFC fault that other organizations are making bad business moves. And PFL also paid for Jake Paul. That's real stupid. They paid for Jake Paul. They paid for Ngannou. They paid Ngannou's opponents $1 million to fight him. That's PFL's fault. Elite FC was paying Kimbo Slice all that money back in the day. What's that other league that paid Arlovsky like $1 million back in like 2008? Yeah, these other leagues just make bad decisions. He's sweeping for Trump. No, you sucking my dick. That's what happened. I said I have to care less about Trump. You literally on your knees swallowing Trump's nut. I could give a fuck about Trump. You don't want to keep mentioning Trump. I don't give a fuck about Trump. You're like, Trump. If that's not a dick suck, I don't know what is. Like I said, I could care less. That's like I'm just in this room right here. It's this dude over on the left, all in the upper corner. I ain't worried about dude over in that corner. But you keep talking about dude over in that corner I don't give a fuck about. That's you that's sucking that dude dick. Shut the fuck about him. Find a different topic. Enjoy the fights. Did I like what? Oh, are you asking if that dude like Trump's nut because he keeps sucking on Trump's dick? I'm sure he liked it. He wouldn't keep talking about it if he didn't like it. No, you're dumb as fuck. You are not sharp. Sugar dumb. You said for the real world. Again, people try to say real world is, but what is the context of right now? I'm here to watch fights. I'm not here to focus on Trump. And me talking about Trump, what's that going to do for me right here if I'm talking about fights? My whole channel is UFC fights. My whole channel is not Trump. My whole channel is not, politics. We could talk about politics, but it might be at the White House. But at an A, these fights going to have nothing to do with the White House outside of it being a backdrop. And that's cool. It's a great backdrop. It's great history. So you're making it about Trump. You are. You gotta find out what's wrong with yourself. Maybe you look at yourself and you see Trump in yourself. Maybe you got the same issues he got or something. That's why you talking about so much. Maybe you're in a glass house. We know Trump in a glass house. Matter of fact, Trump going to hell. We know that. But maybe you're joining him because you are too involved and too focused on him, way too focused. Now, I've been watching MMA for a long time, and I've seen great, organizations have great things, and I've seen organizations mess it up. Matter of fact, you can't really blame the UFC, to be honest. Like, y'all want to blame the UFC for organizations that's messed up, but these organizations will literally take a fighter and overpay them. That's their fault. I'm not saying underpay fighters, but it's better way they can go about what they're doing. Hey, shout out to Escobar. I think this is my girlfriend, to be honest, because her last name Escobar. But hey, I appreciate that. Maybe it's not this, but whoever that is, I appreciate that $5 dono. They felt on their own being. If I had the financial backing, I could definitely make an organization that could, hold its own. I'm not gonna say they're gonna go out of business. I mean, I'm not gonna say they're gonna really compete with the UFC, but I'm pretty sure I can make an organization that can have some decent talent, some decent champions, and keep around. I think the other organizations, like, people get into the game, think the money's so easy, and they just start throwing money, thinking it's gonna come back to them instead of like actually paying the fighter right. Like, I think the organization, they can develop great talent, but no. They get too caught up in just throwing money at big names. They buy old UFC fighters. They buy UFC champions that don't sell tickets. They don't properly develop their fighters most times. I feel like Bellator was doing the right thing for a period of time. But I think one of the mistakes Bellator made was they started making their organization too much like the UFC, and it lost its individuality. They don't have to pay more because you still got regional scenes. People still going. Not everybody's looking to jump to the UFC. They're looking for the entry level. They kind of look for a secondary organization. They might not want to spend their whole career at these organizations, but they'll definitely spend a good chunk of their career if the money's decent. They don't got to pay crazy for these fighters. But I think the thing that these organizations mess up is they try to keep these fighters. Let them go to UFC. If there's anything, if you could build up good talent and that talent goes to the UFC and wins belts, more people gonna come to your organization. More people gonna tune into your organization. But the thing is, they try to hold on to the talent. There's no point trying to hold on to the talent and try to pay more than the UFC. Let them go to the UFC. Let them win. Do great in the UFC. They lose or fall, take them back and let them build up more fighters. But no, they try to hold on to fighters. They put too much budget in trying to keep fighters, too much budget in trying to take fighters, and they don't know how to play their cards right. That's why they go out of business. Again, it looks good on these organizations to have fighters that come over and win titles because they, and they know that, but they still make the same mistake because they have a fighter that's like, say a fighter, we had this fighter that got knocked out, a top 5 UFC fighter who's about to fight a belt, and they know to advertise that fighter, knocking out that fighter every single time a UFC card is about to come up. They know to do that, so they know that having fighters that have beaten UFC fighters or that have went on and done well in UFC, it adds traffic back to them, and the views definitely represent, and people tune in to see good fights, but you can't be too invested in fighters. Yeah, the truth is hardcore fans. Man, even outside of hardcore fans, barely anybody be watching UFC, or not enough people watch fights. A lot of people be watching highlights. But again, everything, it can't just be a rush. It gotta be gradual. You can't just be throwing big money. You can't just be expecting, I did this and did that, so I need this result. Like, you got to take your time, and you got to expect that's going to be not going to happen as quick as you think. But if you want to be around for the long term, you got to take it slow and be smart with your moves. And just throwing money at anyone is not going to be smart. I can see if that guy was just like a certified bucket, a certified money maker. We're going to get Conor McGregor. Even a watch Conor McGregor is going to bring in 500,000 pay-per-view buys or something, and he fell out with the UFC. Or, when they got Rampage, maybe we don't throw $2 million at him, but Rampage probably gonna bring in 100,000 buys regardless. Or now when on Twitch or Kick, he gonna bring in like 300,000. Like, they gotta be smart. Again, there's many ways they could attach themselves to social media more. I know they're trying to attach themselves to like YouTube more now, but they can try to attach themselves to Twitch, Kick. Like, streaming is very big right now. If they were to get some of these streamers to cross over, they have streamer fighters to cross over, build some of them up, bringing some like former athletes, bringing some former collegiate wrestlers. Just bringing people that can bring some buzz to them. People will tune in because at the end of the day, yeah, it might be a sport, but people do tune in for stars and people that are able to build traction. So if they can, build in the right names and get them at a good value instead of trying to overpay for fight. You don't need a Jake Paul. You don't need a KSI. Like, you're not gonna get the bank for your buck. But maybe you go for like a C-tier influencer that got a loyal following. Maybe you target some Latino community. They go die hard for their fans. Latinos like fighting. They love fighting. They love combat sports. And you have to get the right people at the right value instead of just overpaying and feel like overpaying is going to get you your result. It's better to, buy in smartly, target the right markets, and you're going to get what you're trying to get. Hey, I appreciate that $10 dono. Exactly. They pay a lot of money for nothing. Again, PFL make bad moves. They made a bad move with Ngannou. They made a bad move with Jake Paul. And they spent millions on both and really got nothing for it. I guess PFL's gamble was that they're going to somehow get John Jones, but they didn't get that. Again, you don't have to buy fighters from the UFC. Where do good fighters come from? They don't come from the UFC. Good fighters go to the UFC, but they don't get born in the UFC. They don't get made in the UFC. If you got some good collegiate wrestlers that already got big followings, maybe you were able to bring some boxers over, like some good amateur standout boxers, some good amateur wrestlers over. You maybe not pay them like $1 million a fight, maybe start them out with $60,000 a fight, $6,000 a fight, $6,000 win. As an entry, and you develop them. That'd be smart, but just paying $1 million a fight for Ngannou or $5 million or $10 million a fight for Ngannou, that's not smart. But again, you can build some young guys that's like 23, 21, coming out of college, coming out to amateurs, maybe some, any athlete, some top tier basketball players that maybe got an injury or something, but still a great talent, like a 6'4", very athletic basketball player. You start him at a low level, build him up. He already got a big collegiate following. You maybe put him on cards that are near his college. Before played in North Carolina, he played in Florida. When they go to Florida, bring him there, put him in charge of the promotion or make him the promotion back. Like, you could do different things. Again, just targeting UFC fighters is the dumbest thing you could do. Maybe you watch UFC fighters, and the thing with watch UFC fighters, you bring watch UFC fighters in to lose to your talent, so you could bring attention, and you could pay them less. So UFC got that maybe 5 years ago, you might have paid $500,000 for. You could probably get them at a bargain for like $100,000, and then you bring them in, they lose to your fighters, and now your fighter has name recognition. And again, if that fighter leaves, cool. They leave to go to UFC. Maybe you had them for 5 years, and they help build the brand, and then the next guy come along. Maybe their training partner. Maybe someone they know. Or we're not. But yeah, I'm doing too much yapping. A lot of yapping here. Now, a lot of these great fighters or good fighters have proven themselves outside the UFC. That's why they get brought to the UFC, because they are proven. Maybe because Contender Series fighters don't prove themselves, but a lot of these guys that are in the UFC have already proven themselves outside the UFC. Like Cerrone had already proven himself before he got to UFC. Ben Henderson had already proven himself before he got to UFC. Anthony Pettis had already proven himself before he got to UFC. Daniel Cormier proven himself before he got to UFC. Ronda Rousey proved herself before she got to the UFC. Pereira was already a 2-division glory kickboxing champion. Adesanya already had steam before he got to the UFC. Obviously, he proved himself more in the UFC, but he had steam before he got to UFC. So just to say that you can't prove yourself outside the UFC is ludicrous, or is untrue is the right way to say it. I appreciate that dono, Flo. It's not a different generation. Pereira is this generation. You might not feel like he's this generation, but he's this generation. But the level of women's MMA was already high. They already had Chris Cyborg. It's not like MMA was so raw back then. Amanda Nunes was already a fighter back then. Valentina Shevchenko was already fighting back then. It's not like, oh, MMA didn't have no one back then. A lot of people you see now were already fighting back then. I'm not saying she was in the UFC, but I'm saying you act like there was no talent. The talent was already there. Ronda Rousey just put a flashlight on it. The talent was already there. Miesha Tate had already been fighting. Ronda Rousey had already been fighting. Chris Cyborg had already been fighting. Amanda Nunes had already been fighting. Ronda Rousey just put a spotlight was already on there. Yes, MMA, women's MMA has gotten better, but a lot of the best talent that there is had already been out there. Matter of fact, every woman that's really on the GOAT list right now had already been fighting before Ronda. Valentina was fighting before Ronda, I believe. Cyber was fighting before Ronda. Nunes was fighting before Ronda. Again, all Ronda did was put a spotlight on it. And a lot of the talent she beat still is pretty decent today, or at least would compete today in their primes. So you can't like, oh, women were trash back then. That's true. WC was on. Strikeforce was not on, but they were bought. Pride was better than UFC at one point, but they had mafia ties or Yakuza ties, and then they got bought out. But again, the right money and the right minds behind it, you could definitely make an organization that can at least hold its own with the UFC. At the very least, hold its own. I'm not saying they're going to beat them, but with the right investments, and they might be losing for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, but the right methods, the right processes, they can compete, maybe even surpass the UFC in time. But beating the UFC is not going to be something, or competing or beating the UFC is not something that's going to be done in a matter of 5 years. UFC has been doing what it's been doing for 30 years, 33 years. So to compete with that, it's going to take years. But everybody wants things fast. That's the issue. So the issue is not, oh, this is this. The issue is modern people wanting instant gratification. That's the issue. Companies can't compete. Yeah, I got Steve Garcia here. It's not a monopoly. You keep using the word wrong. It's not a monopoly. Other leagues can still make fights. There's like at least 1,000 MMA organizations within America alone. I'm exaggerating. Regional, this and that. It's probably at least, I'm say 200. So it's not a monopoly, at least 200. As far as big major organizations, it's maybe about 5. UFC, PFL, Risen, 1 FC, maybe 4. Bellator got dissolved. I don't know where you get that stat from, but I also want to be doing some dumb things too. I think 1 FC be overpaying people too. But yeah, it's not their fault. They just do better business. I ain't reading them, to be honest. Even if I read them regardless, it's not a monopoly. And I clearly see the bad business people are doing. I don't have to understand. I literally saw the bad business PFL was doing just yesterday. PFL had a live fight on their YouTube channel, but they were playing a past fight live as well. So half their viewers were watching old fights when they were doing PFL after. Like, you can't be blaming the UFC for these other companies shooting themselves in the foot. How you got a live fight, but you showing old fights at the same time on your channel as well live? Like, y'all shooting yourself in the foot. Y'all choosing to pay Ngannou all that money. Y'all choosing to pay Jake Paul all that money. Y'all can't find a channel to stream on properly. Then when y'all do stream on your own YouTube channel, y'all streaming old fights at the same time, and half y'all viewers watching old fights because they can't tell if it's live. This is the new fights or the old fights. But yeah, fights on the way. Steve Garcia versus Diego Lopez. Hey, Jill. Oblique kick for Garcia. Oh, nice 1-1-2 for Garcia. Nice teep for Garcia. All right, tell me quickly what makes it a monopoly. What's the bare minimum for something to be a monopoly? Definition, by definition, not by opinion, by definition. Nice leaping hook for Garcia. Good jab from Garcia. Nice oblique kick for Garcia. Good rear hand for Garcia. Got a little bit sloppy with it, but he landed it. Another oblique kick for Garcia. Eye poke from Garcia, but no pause taken. Good front kick from, oh, nice question mark kick from Garcia. Another oblique kick from Garcia. Garcia almost ran into the elbow there. Yep, exciting short fight card. See, 11 out of 10 look. Yeah, I wouldn't agree. But if you like it, people like what they like. Inside leg kick for Lopez. Uppercut to the body lands for Garcia. Jab for Garcia. I took Garcia. You can see it behind me. Let's see. See, I picked Garcia. Nice straight left from Garcia. Then by definition, the UFC is a monopoly, so you are right in that. But what I say is fully the UFC's fault. I think like other MMA organizations have been operating like garbage. I don't know about that. I don't know about it being an underdog night. There's not that many good underdogs on this card, to be honest. Garcia is probably the best underdog on the card. I think my only underdog I got. Pereira and Ghana is a pick 'em, I think. Are they? Not really, because I don't feel like the UFC is really targeting like entry or mid-level competition. The UFC is not looking to really build fighters too much. There's like a handful of fighters that try to build, but there's a lot of the market that other organizations could tap into. They just suck. I'm gonna be honest, they just suck. I can't even blame the UFC. They just suck. The other organization, they just suck. Because there's so much talent they could work to build, so much talent they could tap into. Again, holding on to that talent could be a ding, but even then, other organizations are able to hold on some good talent. Right now, I think probably the best, well, not the best, but probably like a top 3 woman in MMA is in PFL right now. Dakota Ditcheva. She's one of the best women in MMA right now. And probably the best woman at her weight class right now in the world. And what's that, like 125? They technically, I think, still haven't gone, I think, technically. They have one of the top 3 heavyweights, even though they overpaid for him by a lot. They got a decent welterweight division. I think ONE FC got a decent lightweight, got some decent. The Rotolo brothers are doing great in ONE FC. I mean, so you can have talent, and I think you could develop talent as well. But again, I just don't think they're doing it right. But yeah, we're in round 2. I'm doing too much yapping about stuff that had nothing to do with this fight. Good jab from Garcia. Another jab from Garcia. Good jab from Lopez. Another jab from Garcia. Nice oblique kick from Garcia. Another oblique kick. Nice left hand from Garcia. Good jab from Garcia. Leg kick from Garcia. Oh, nice 1-2. Buckle Lopez a little bit. Good 1-2 from Garcia. Another looping hook from Garcia. That's the best shot landed by Lopez there. Good 1-2 there from Garcia. Oh, Garcia got clipped. Garcia's out. Garcia got sloppy. He got put out. Well, got sloppy, got his soft chin touch, got put out. America's 0-1. He said Diego Garcia. You mean Diego Lopez? He said Diego Garcia. No, Diego's a bum. Don't ever put GOAT in the same sentence as Diego. Low fight IQ moment. I don't know what you shocked about. In loud we trust in this country. What am I looking up? I'm looking up something. What am I looking up? But yeah, who we got next? What's next fight? Bo Nickel versus Cal Dawkins, I believe. Who y'all got, Bo Nickel or Cal Dawkins? So one underdog was doing good, but then he choked again, got sloppy, got knocked out. We got another underdog coming up next. I don't have him picked. I got Bo Nickel next. Steve Garcia's an idiot. What's the screen doing? Come on now. All right, this thing don't want to give me all my options. I can't even see my freaking comments. Both ground and pound round two. Can y'all see me? Is anyone in the chat? Anyone in the chat? Roll call, roll call. Somebody say it. So yeah. What am I saying? Yes, somebody say something. Somebody say something. I can't see the chat on my yeah. I can't see the chat on my phone, but I can see it on my computer. I tried to text someone. My phone messed up now. Well, the stream messed up on my phone, but it is what it is. Hit a yes with a green screen behind you. Yeah, I can't use it right now. The option on my phone, it was there before, but now it don't want to be there. But it is what it is. That's how it usually is anyway. Just a green screen. But yeah, at least y'all can still comment. At least it's still live, so I'm cool with that. I think so. Delayed. At least one American gonna win here, unless it's a draw. But yeah, Bo Nickel making his walk to the cage right now. But yeah, I think halfway through this card, I'm gonna change, end this stream and start another one. So yes, I think after the third fight, I'm gonna change it so I can have access to my little green screen or whatever and see the comments on the phone again. 30 versus 33, 6'1" versus 6'2. So everybody got Bo Nickel here, including me. The ring girls look like they dress like Wonder Woman. Y'all wearing Wonder Woman's outfit. All right, fights underway. Bo Nickel versus Cal Dawkins. Oh, a big takedown for Bo Nickel here early. So Bo Nickel with a takedown in less than 1 minute. He's now in the close guard of Dawkins. Some good elbows here from Bo Nickel in the guard. Like he already opened up a cut on Dawkins. Another elbow on top from Bo Nickel. But yeah, Bo Nickel just in the guard. Dawkins just seemed content to just stay in the guard. I guess he's just hoping to survive this round, not waste energy, make it to the next round. Fight starts on the feet again in the second round. It don't really seem like he's intent to really go for any submissions, try to stand back up. He eats some more elbows from Nickel. Yeah, all I'm really saying from Dawkins is just survival right here. I don't really see any urgency to offense off his back, but the ref saves him. The ref stands him up, or the ref helps him. He wasn't really in danger, but the ref helps him up. They're back to their feet. Jab for Bo Nickel. Another jab for Bo Nickel. Oh, front kick for Bo Nickel to the face. Oh, nice square hand. Drops Dawkins. Some ground and pound. Fight about to be over. First round TKO for Bo Nickel. Bo Nickel striking still looking awkward, but he gets the job done. The power and athleticism still there. But yeah, I'm gonna end this stream and start another one. See y'all soon.